Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up tonight, we'll have a roundup of the latest news headlines and all the latest sports news ahead of the weekend. And I'll be reviewing the week's regional papers with my guest, Dr. Alec Gill MBE. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Friday's programme with me, Luke Adams. First tonight, a drunk business leader who left a teenager for dead has been sentenced today. 64-year-old Owen Finn, a former president of the Hull and Humber Chamber of Commerce, was twice over the legal limit for driving when he struck 16-year-old Keenan Roberts off his bicycle and fled the scene. The teenager was cycling home from work on Brantingham Road in Ellerton last October and was left with serious injuries as a result of Mr Finn's actions. He remains in hospital. Mr Finn was today handed a 3-year prison sentence and banned from driving for 11.5 years. A man remains in hospital with serious injuries following an altercation in Grimsby last night. The incident happened in the Old Marketplace around 11:45, in which the 35-year-old victim came into contact with a group of youths. He was taken to Hull Royal Infirmary with stab wounds. Police are now investigating the incident. A new exhibition opens to the public tomorrow, telling the tale of Hull's 600-year connection with Iceland. The Maritime Museum is playing host to a common foe, which not only focuses on the Cod Wars, but also what brought the two places together in the first place. Dan Kemp has been along this morning to find out more.
Another day, another exhibition opens in the UK City of Culture, this time celebrating the city's historic links with Iceland. An often chilly relationship now thawed, now immortalised in Hull's Maritime Museum. Tom Goulder is the assistant curator of Hull Museums and says that ties between the two go back 600 years, much longer ago than the Cod Wars.
Hundreds of Hull ships went up to Iceland to fish off their shores, and it's about the relationship with the fishermen and with the communities and how they interacted. There were good times, there were bad times. When a lot of people think about the relationship between Hull and Iceland, they think of the Cod Wars, but we're going beyond that. We cover the Cod Wars, but what was immediately apparent to us was that there was an awful lot of respect between the Hull fishermen and the Icelandic seafarers.
A delegation from Hull went to Reykjavik earlier this year to strengthen ties and exchange bells. Hull's Arctic Corsair gave up its bell for the year to the Icelandic Coast Guard, while the bell of the Odin is now in the exhibition. Vic Wielden is a former trawler skipper and was part of the delegation.
It goes back a long way, of course, not just because of the fishing, but Iceland and England traded even before the fishing era. But I spent most of my fishing career at Iceland, I should say 80% of it, so it's a significant area for me. I was also involved in the last Cod War before I retired from fishing. So that was poignant, if you like. Meeting the ex-crew of the Odin was quite a nice touch, actually. Yeah.
Pat Ellis has donated a valuable piece of family history to the exhibition. Her husband and his father before him both used the same kit bag, which was passed down the generations.
They used to take this to sea with them, which carried all their heavy gear, like their ob socks and the big warm jerseys and that sort of thing, because obviously they needed plenty of those during the trips to either Iceland, Greenland, Newfoundland, wherever it may be. So it's obviously a bit of an emotional day for me, really, because when I first met my husband, he'd already progressed to mate, which he then used this kit bag, as he had done from his time on the deck, and it's sort of going back to 50, 60 years ago, but it brings back a lot of sad memories because we had a lot of friends and colleagues who unfortunately were lost on some of the ships that Rob was either, he'd progressed on or he was mate, then progressed to skipper. And the St Romanus, which was obviously lost with all hands, my husband had been skipper of that ship just a number of months before, and you always used to say to yourself, well, for the grace of God go I, because that could have been him.
And the exhibition runs at the Maritime Museum until the 24th of September. Now, plans for a new leisure development in Grimsby have moved a step closer. The £20 million Freshney Place Riverhead scheme may now go ahead after council officials at North East Lincolnshire Council ruled that it would not have a detrimental effect on the local environment. The site would be situated in the old bus station in the town centre and would see new restaurants, a 9-screen cinema and the creation of over 300 jobs. The first Blue Light Day takes place in Hull tomorrow. The event aims to shine a light on the work of the emergency services. Throughout the day there will be specialist displays, police helicopters and specialist operations. Chief Inspector Michelle Garlick says developing relationships with the community is key to the emergency services work.
Absolutely crucial for us to be part of our communities and embedded with our communities. Neighbourhood policing is the bedrock of everything, and if we develop those relationships it makes the rest of our jobs a lot easier. It's difficult times for us, you know, there's a lot of demands on the police at the moment and we've had to be really careful that we don't impact on the day-to-day business that we've still to provide. We've got lots of people who are so passionate about this that they're coming in on the days off to help to do it in order that we can still maintain the service that we need to give to the public. We've made the decision to hold an event as it's City of Culture this year, and we wanted to contribute to the whole feel-good feeling in the city and showcase and demonstrate some of the work that we do. So this Saturday it's going to be a family day. It's interactive, it's immersive. We want people to come and experience firsthand the day in the life of Humberside Police, see all the different factors that make up what Humberside Police is. We're not just the guys in the cars driving around with the blue lights on. There's a whole army of people behind the scenes. So they're all going to be here showcasing different elements of what we do.
And the event will be held in East Park on Holderness Road from 11 a.m. tomorrow. It's Friday, which means it's time to have a look through the week's papers now with my guest, Dr. Alec Gill MBE. Good evening, Alec. Welcome to the programme. Thank you very much for coming in. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Well, it's a joy to be here over in Grimsby, Luke, and see you and the crew here.
Thank you very much indeed.
Nice crowd.
Alec, congratulations on the resounding success of the Hessel Road Photography Exhibition, which I believe attracted around 8,000 visitors to the Hull History Centre. Phenomenal achievement. Well,
very pleased, and thanks to everybody for coming along. And but I think it did overwhelm the History Centre, and they issued a press release saying, you know, what a good turnout it was, and it's the best ever results they've had for an exhibition, and so that was nice too.
Because the History Centre has been open since about 2010, I believe.
Correct.
And as you quite rightly said there,
yeah.
They said that it has been one of their most successful to date. So remarkable achievement.
Thank you.
Why do you think it was such a popular exhibition?
Well, I think, the thing is the Hessel Roaders love it, but also it went beyond the Hessel Roaders and it got onto the word of mouth thing. You know, and word of mouth can surpass any form of advertising, and, you know, once word spread, people came from Lancashire and North Yorkshire, and some people were disappointed, I'm afraid, because it was closed at the weekends, Saturdays, Sundays and Mondays. And people, you know, turned away. So that was unfortunate, but still, despite that, and one day we had about 515 people came on one day, and it was chucking down with rain. But it's good because people were there in wheelchairs and push chairs, all ages and families, and people came back a number of times.
And was you there every day to see all this footfall to your fantastic exhibition?
No, not every day, but I was there. It was lovely to be there, and so, you know, Japanese people came, French, and you know, Dutch, and all over the world.
A bit of global
American
domination.
Oh, well, you never know.
Which brings me on to our first story this evening, Alec, which features the good man himself.
Go on.
Historic Hessel Art Show deserves a global platform, as featured in Wednesday's Hull Daily Mail. So the exhibition, which we've just been talking about, has now ended at the History Centre.
Yes.
But you have plans to take this transatlantic, global.
I'd like to, yes, because the photographs, people love people.
Yes.
And I like to think, people tell me the photographs are universal in a way, and they're just telling a human story. And fishing communities, I mean, for goodness sake, they're all over the world anyway, but even inland places, people affiliated, you know, with the identified with the photographs, you know, it reminded them of Peterborough and Hartlepool and their own bringing, and they're going back 40 years. I mean, I started very young, of course, you know, taking these in the 1970s. Well, I was about 28 actually, and you know, it's vintage.
Yes, absolutely.
It's vintage.
I think everybody loves a bit of vintage and nostalgia, and over the years you've built up this fantastic repository of pictures. How are we going to make sure that this project, where you now want to take it global, Alec, does come to fruition? What's involved?
Well, lots really. I mean, it's being curated by my friend Paul Berriff, OBE, and he's been on your show a number of times.
He has, yes.
And quite a dynamic chap in his own right. But we're working on things for the National Portrait Gallery in London, but he's had exhibitions before in Dubai and San Francisco and Carnegie in New York. And I'd like to go to Singapore, and the cover girls, one of them is in Australia. So I'd like to take it over to show her as well, and other people. But no, I'd like a book as well. Looking for sponsorship there, if anybody's got any spare.
Because it would make a great.
Well, 500
coffee
pictures
book.
In a big photo book.
It would make a great coffee table book, wouldn't it?
Yes, it
and
would.
as you said, the images are very striking and very nostalgic. Alec, we'll leave it there, but we'll have a look at your stories in part 2. So please stay with me, okay?
Thank you.
So join me after the break when we'll continue our review of the week's papers, and Dan brings us the latest news from the sporting world. Welcome back, you're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, all the latest sports news with Dan. Now, still with me in the studio, Dr. Alec Gill MBE, no less, as we continue our review of the week's papers. Alec, I believe you've picked out a story from the Grimsby Telegraph on Freeman House.
Yes, got to get a balance. Don't want too much for the whole, do we?
Yes.
Right? So in Grimsby, yeah, Freeman House. I mean, there's some 12-year-old kids and that age group setting fire to it and clambering up the derelict buildings near Freeman Street. And the firefighters, I mean, we just had a sketch earlier on about the blue light thing at East Park.
Tomorrow, yes.
Yes, so, but they do a hard job, these firefighters, and all this thing in London with Grenfell and all the rest of it. But,
Fantastic work.
But the firemen, you know, they go beyond what they do, just firefighting, and playing with parents to be aware of the children. But it doesn't really have any effects to kids listen to the parents. I don't know really. Right. But there's been quite a few, and each time it says the crews are put in danger because they never know what's going to happen.
And the wider implications as well.
Yes.
The wider implications.
Well, the damage and the reputation for Grimsby as well, because it's not good having lots of fires and all the rest of it. But these kids, you know, the sort of they need more activities, I suppose. I don't know really. Like you say, the wider implications.
Well, would you say, Alec, that is part of the problem then, that these youths are hanging out in these unsafe buildings because there isn't really a forum or a platform like a youth club as there was in my day for them to go to?
No, and the kids are attracted to danger as well.
Yes.
I mean,
fearless.
Yes. But
fearless.
you know, it's pity the society can't use all this entry. I mean, was it you know, Hemingway or somebody who said, "Wise youth wasted on the young," speaking as a 70-year-old, you know, and
a 33-year-old, no longer youthful.
Yeah, but nevertheless, you know, it's, this energy could be channeled. I mean, because a lot of creative things can be done. And
right.
you know, and but also,
does the article there, Alec, tell us what's going to happen to this building, or are the police enforcing any kind of powers? Do we know from the article?
I didn't get that far, I'm afraid. Okay. You know, I must have run out of ink.
Absolutely. Well, linking to your next story,
yes.
Linking to the next story, you've also picked out from the Hull Daily Mail about the Lord Line building.
The Lord Line building, which sadly does attract a similar type of youngsters. But to you know, it's been encouraged unwittingly, shall we say, by whoever the land building owners are.
I think it's a Manor Property Group, I believe.
I don't like mention that name even, you know. Yeah. But it's sadly, but what Angus Young is talking about here in the Daily Mail is the pumping station.
Right.
That's the pumping house, I should say. That's next to it. And that's. See, the Lord Line building was a build after the war. It's very heavily bombed, of course. And it was rebuilt as the Lord Line building in 1948, but nevertheless, it's still symbolic. But next to that, almost adjacent, is this pumping state house. And it's got listed status, grade 2. Right. But that's been vandalised and abandoned. And but it says here, the Victorian Society You know, they're sort of making a mockery, especially of our fishing culture, which is very precious, especially in the year of City of Culture.
Absolutely.
And Angus Young also queries, a good article, challenging the City Council that they've let it slip off the agenda, off the radar, by not keeping it high up, you know, with other events.
Alec, the Lord Line building and the pumping station, as you've said there, two very historic, iconic buildings in Hull. Why do you think the Hull people are so passionate about these buildings to be preserved and saved from demolition?
Well, because it's heritage and it's their history, and because people say about Lord Line building, but it represents the owners, but it represents actually what was there before. It's Pickering Haldane. Oh, right. It was in the site, and Christopher Pickering was the only philanthropical, philanthropical, that's the word I'm looking for, trawler owner in the city. Dedicated the park and the almshouses to the local people, and so it's not just the trawler owners, but it's all the culture that's in danger of being demolished.
And the heritage.
And when I see Humber Street and the good things that have been done with the old buildings, it breaks my heart that it's not happened as John Crimlis wanted maybe 20 odd years ago.
It'll be interesting to follow this story and see what develops. We are doing a story on the Lord Line building next week, so tune into Estuary News live at 5:30 to find out what happens. Alec, in complete contrast to that story, a fantastic development for Scunthorpe Town Centre. They've been awarded £60 million to transform the town centre, and it's going to create an NHS centre, a university, and upgrade the library. Fantastic news for the town, and great to see redevelopment in, of course, the steel town
there. It's not had a university, I don't think.
I don't think it has, no. I don't think it has. And Rob Waltham, the leader of North Lincolnshire Council, is quoted in the article as saying here, this is a significant investment, never seen before, that will transform the town centre and create a vibrant and thriving place where people will want to live, work, study, invest, visit and spend their leisure time. So great news all round.
Great news all round, and I mean it shows that if you invest in major projects like this, it does generate jobs and enthusiasm for the area.
Absolutely, and enthusiasm with the people who live in that area as well. Like, we've seen the rejuvenation and the enthusiasm of Hollensians in City of Culture.
Right. Correct. And it's no good going on all the time about austerity and being negative and doom-laden.
That's right.
So an investment like this for Scunthorpe.
Fantastic. And 60 new homes are also going to be built as part of this development, costing about £5.8 million. Great result. Alec, what's your next story, please,
following, you mentioned about this university, where we are at the Grimsby Institute.
Yes.
Building, a place I like to come to on any occasion.
Of course.
But sadly, cutbacks. It says the Institute to axe up to 25 jobs to balance the books. They get, it's back to austerity, I'm afraid. But there's 2,000 staff altogether, roughly. So it represents about 1%. But it's a consultation period they're going to. And so it always seems a friendly place.
It is. We're a good team here. Very, very quickly, a kitten has been rescued from up a ladder by the firefighters. A tiny kitten who took refuge in a pigeon's nest and made friends with a pair of chicks has finally been saved by the the emergency services. Great work. And one of the firefighters took the kitten home. A great way to end. Alec, we'll see you soon. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Luke.
Now here's Dan with all the latest news from the sporting world.
Hull FC head to Headingley tonight looking for a win to make sure they remain in Super League's top four. However, the Black and Whites haven't won away to the Rhinos since 2007 when Gareth Rayner scored a winning try. FC have lost their last two games and are also preparing to face Leeds in the Challenge Cup semi-finals in just a fortnight's time. And coach Lee Radford is wary of the contrasting form of the two sides going into tonight's game.
They seem in decent spirits. There's no reason why they shouldn't be. We're not playing well. We haven't played well, I don't think. Probably since Castleford in the cup. So, unless that changes quick, we're not going to be picking too many points up from now till the end of the season. That's for sure. Having watched them last week against Salford, that's one of the best performances I've seen from a team in this competition this year. So, if they play like they did on Sunday and we play like we did on Friday, then we're in for a real long night on Friday. That's for sure.
Albert Kelly is expected to be omitted from the squad as our longer-term injured trio of Gareth Ellis, Chris Green and Steve Michaels. Meanwhile, Hull Kingston Rovers have confirmed the signing of Chris Atkin from the Swinton Lions. The halfback was due to join up with the Robins at the start of next season, but his transfer has been brought forward to help with their push for a return to Super League. A fee was agreed between the two clubs to make the transfer happen earlier. He won't feature this week, but will likely make his debut next week against Halifax. Rovers host Toulouse Olympique on Sunday afternoon. Justin Carney will miss the game through injury, but Adam Quinlan returns. Football now, and Hull City goalkeeper David Marshall will miss the start of the new season after injuring his ankle ligaments. He did the damage this week on their pre-season training camp in Portugal. Head coach Leonard Slutsky says he expects the Scottish international to miss the next 6 weeks of action. It leaves Eldin Jakupovic and Alan McGregor as the Tigers' two goalkeepers for their games abroad, which begin against Oxford United tomorrow. Meanwhile, City's under-23s are competing in the annual Billy Bly Trophy against North Ferriby United tomorrow. They're filling in for the absence of the senior squad. That game takes place at the Eon Visual Media Stadium at 3 o'clock. The Scunthorpe United squad are travelling to Austria as we speak. They're going for a training camp and to play in 2 games against local opposition. They play SK Strobel on Tuesday and SV Austria Salzburg on Friday. And Grimsby Town have been given nearly 1,800 tickets for their opening game of the League 2 season. It sees the Mariners take the relatively short trip to Chesterfield on the 5th of August. And that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Dan. That's it for tonight, I'm afraid. As always, if you have a news story, please get in touch with us in the usual ways. Details are on the screen now. You can email news@estuary.tv or phone our news desk, which is a Grimsby number 01472 31553, or write to us at the usual address. Many thanks to Alec Gill for reviewing the week's papers with me this week. I have been in regal company. I hope you have a great weekend. Until then, from all of us on the team, good evening.